Trina with Auntie's Corner, and I just finished book 5 of The Ranger's Apprentice, Sorcerer of the North. I am going to be really quick here. There is some language. We run into our villain this time is a man who likes to run around with a long, heavy, weighted spear. And his language is atrocious. So, like normal, there's not a lot of, I don't consider them cuss words. There's cursed, my God, damn it, damned, swore, hell, devil, godforsaken, which that to me isn't a curse word, but there is one word that I do not like, and it is that our villain called a dog a bitch, which, that is the actual term for a female dog, so technically it's not a cuss word, but he meant it as that. So, anyway, so that is our language factor. Again, age range is 10 and up. That's based on readability, not content. We have hypnotism and mind control in this book. There's harm to a dog. The dog that I was talking about, she doesn't have a name right now, but when Will finds her, she's wounded and she's been cut with a blade really deep, and he doesn't think that she'll survive without giving her some treatment, so he stitches her up, takes her with him. And there's a kiss on page 76, but it's like normal, chaste. So, so that is our factors for this go around for book 5. We have Will and Alice being our main two characters overall. We do have the villains, but we're not really sure who the villains are until later on. In book 5, at the very beginning, this is the overview, so spoiler alert, if you plan on reading this book, don't listen to my overview. I'm not going to hit all of the, I'm not going to tell the whole story. I'm just going to give the overview. So, highlights here. Will's graduated as a Ranger Apprentice, so he is a full-fledged silver oak leaf ranger. And he's assigned to the Southeast Seacliff Fife. Tested since he's really young, the Baron and Battlemaster at Seacliff are too laid back, and they continuously try and make themselves in charge of Will, and Will very graciously, deflects. Things in this seemingly peaceful fife need to change, or will have to make a bad or a negative report. So, a week before the report is due, an alarm is raised. A farmer goes running through the field, screaming that there's sea wolves have landed, and sea wolves are Scandians. Will's not worried about it because he's dealt with Scandians before. So Will saves Seacliff, and in the process, he, the Battlemaster and Baron understand that they were wrong to be so laid back. It could have been horrible. The village could have been wiped out. People would have died. So they've learned their lesson. They're moving forward from there. Once he's gotten the Scandians settled, because they had a horrible trip, and he knows that they're about to go back to House Shalom or to Scandia, wherever they're from, and if they've had a bad season, they won't have any food to make it to Cape Shelter. So he has an idea of why they landed in Araluen, because when Iraq says it's not in there sedating that they can't raid Araluen border, but when your king frowns upon it, most of the time you're going to avoid it unless it's an emergency. So that all happens, and he gets them squared away. They're, getting meat and stuff ready for their trip to Cape Shelter, and Alice visits. And Alice is our friend who was a ward mate at Redmont Fife. Sorry, I had to think for a minute. There's a lot of Fifes. Redmont Fife. And she was Will's oldest friend. They've known each other for the longest time out of all of the wards that he grew up with. And Alice is a tall, beautiful blonde who Will has a huge crush on, and they've been kind of seeing each other. So when she visits, he's like, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "Oh, I was in the area. I switched somebody to, deliver a message." But there's actually a mission, and she was tasked with seeing Will so that nobody was suspicious of her going and seeing Will and then leaving and then him disappearing for a while. So as she's visiting, the dog's abuser arrives, and Will gives him to the Scandians as a slave. Gives, not sells. And then goes on a mission. So it's frowned upon that he gave John Buttle away as a slave, but he had every right to hang the man for being, wanted for murder and everything else. So we have that. So he's our main villain for this book. So on this mission was presented, he goes to the gathering ground where they have their yearly foray and test all of the apprentices and stuff. And nobody's there because it's a mission, so he's just meeting them as like a central ground. Halt and Crowley are there, and he is told that he has to pose as a traveling musician, a jongleur, because the ranger that's in Norgate 5 cannot figure out what's going on with Castle Mackinaw. And Castle Mackinaw is on the border of Scotty, and if something happens with that castle, then that gives a bridgehead for the Scotty to invade Araluen, so he has to go figure out what's going on. So, Will poses as a jongleur, a traveling musician, to find out what's going on in Norgate 5 with Alice, and when they get there, they find that the Baron Siren is comatose. His son is thought to be the main culprit because he dresses all in black, and he's very moody, and he's misjudged completely. And the nephew is a very likable and intelligent guy. He's very capable, and he's been protecting the castle since Siren became comatose, and even before then. He's a knight. He's awesome. Everybody likes him. So, one of the major themes in this book is that people can easily misjudge based on character flaws or how they act. Like, you can act like a great, personable person, but then you can be really evil, and nobody really can tell until... So, that's really one of the main themes in this book, which I thought was awesome. Ormond, Siren's son, who's thought to be the Sorcerer, is poisoned, and he tells Will, "I know you're a ranger, and I need your help because I'm poisoned, and I'm not going to last more than like 2 or 3 hours. I can feel it coming on as the same symptoms that my dad had before he went comatose. So the only way that we can fix this is if you get me to the real sorcerer, the McCallum of Grimsdale Forest." And so there's lights and stuff going on in a nearby forest, and nobody goes through, like, near the place because, one, it's like a mire where you take one wrong step and you're going to be in, like, swampy water and never seen again. And there's voices and a night warrior and all of these lights and sounds, and it's spooky. And so Will has been in there couple times and been scared to death, but he hasn't found the sorcerer McCallum, and he's not sure why there's lights and sounds and stuff. So when Ormond is poisoned, he's like, all right, let's go through this forest and find people. That's our main goal, is to find this McCallum guy. Come to find out, McCallum is just the name of a healer called Malcolm, and because he tried to heal a kid and the kid died, people thought Malcolm and McCallum, it was a play on words, and he was really the sorcerer from hundreds of years ago. So, Will escapes with Ormond from the castle and goes and finds this healer. And while they've escaped and everything, Alice has been captured, and she's only captured because John Buttle arrives, which tips Will off. He needs to get to Alice to warn her, hey, we need to get out of here, John Buttle's here. And Orman summons him and says, you've got to get me out of here. And Will can't get to Alice in time, so they take off. Alice is left. She's playing at being a lady. Gwendolyn, an airhead ditz who is going to see her betrothed and get married, and the passes are snowed in, so she can't get that far. But John Buttle recognizes her, and Sir Karen, the cousin, hypnotizes her and finds out that Will tries to, like, scale the castle, use acid on the bars of the window to try and get Alice out, and she was buying him time, and so he cuts the rope. Will was low enough to the ground, he just jumps and he's fine, and he escapes from the castle. But the hypnotism starts on page 39, goes into kind of a detail of, like, once you're hypnotized, there's, you know, the post-hypnotism. It's easy to be influenced after you've done it once, that kind of thing. One of the quotes that I really liked in this book, and I don't normally quote books, but I think this one is worth it. The healer moved to the forest, and all of the people that help him protect the forest are disfigured, misshapen in some capacity, and have been ran out of the villages around Norgate Fife and further on, because, you know, they were deformed, or, you know, one guy's 2.5 meters tall, he grew too fast as an 8-year-old, they ran him out as being part giant, that kind of thing. But the healer says, it's a lot easier to heal an injured body than a damaged soul. Meaning that, you know, he's tried to ease their pain of being misshapen and, you know, that tenderness or whatever pain of having problems with herbs and stuff, but it's a lot harder to heal the soul where you've been forced out of your home, you've been chased off because, you know, there's something wrong with you and you're not normal compared to everyone else. So that was a quote that I really liked in this book. And again, John Flanagan has just blew my mind. So I hope you liked this, and stay tuned for number 6.